Welcome to another episode of Through the Web with me, your co-host Tawsif.
And me, Dagogo, which we're coming through the web this time.
We are literally coming through the web at each other, at you, whoever's listening in, and audio, because this time, if you can see us, we are not in the studio, because our good friend and producer, Brayden, has caught the spicy cough.
That is correct.
On the streets.
Going around. So
hopefully Brayden recovers soon, so we are not in the studio this week. Which is a bit of shame because, you know, it's always nice to do this face-to-face. I think we mentioned it every time that we took a bit of hiatus or a bit of a break and then gotten back to the studio. It always feels different, always nicer. But, you know, we are committed to giving you the best show possible by any means possible. So we are here to talk about stuff. So how's your week, Dagogo?
Yeah. It wasn't too bad, just like doing a lot of videos because I'm leaving to Europe. If I don't know if we've mentioned that on the podcast, but yeah.
Maybe briefly.
Yeah. So I'm going for about 3 weeks. So just kind of trying to smash those all out. But yeah, haven't been too bad. Been pretty good. How about yourself, Tawsif? What's the news?
Yeah, pretty good week. Very busy. I do have an update from a tech front. I have taken a decision, and it's to go with a Chromebook, and I've got that Chromebook.
So what like I'm interested. So like, how far have Chromebooks come? What's your take on it?
My main motivation for getting a Chromebook over a Windows laptop or a MacBook was that, you know, I was going to mostly use this for light work, like professional stuff, emails, document editing, and everything I do is on Google Drive, right? So it just made sense to have something that would be the best for it. And Chromebook, given that, you know, it's on the Chrome OS, they also work seamlessly with Google Drive stuff. Just made sense for me. So I went ahead and got it, and just setting up was just a breeze, man. Just all it needed was my email address, put my email address in, and straight up, that's it, really. So
Right.
so yeah, I think for me so far it's been okay. It's only been less than 24 hours, but I can give an upgrade, but update later. But the interesting thing is, it was actually a comment from Through the Web that pushed me towards the decision a little bit more, and it was from Dino Rodriguez. I think it's the same person who you saw.
Yeah.
We keep seeing on your thing. So he said on the last. This could very well be my comment of the week at this stage, but he said you'll be fine with a Chromebook 100%. I run an entire business with Chrome OS perfectly fine, and I was like, okay, you know, I was a bit torn over the last few weeks, as I mentioned in the last podcast. I was like, okay, should I get it? Should I not? And that comment kind of pushed me a little bit more towards. So it's awesome how the community kind of informs things back at you, and it makes you know things. So thanks, Dino, for the recommendation, and hopefully, it'll be good. Should be good. It's I've seen enough reviews to say it's an okay piece. So.
Yeah, no, I guess if you're just using it for those kind of tasks where it's, document heavy and researching, script writing, all that kind of stuff, no GPU or CPU load, I think it's probably a good choice. So I'm guessing it's touch and...
it's a two-in-one. It's a two-in-one thing because I would like to kind of do some, drawings and things of that sort sometimes, as you would have seen my scribbles during certain meetings. So things like that would be easier for me to kind of just have it all on digitize it. So that was another reason I wanted two-in-one as well. So yeah, got a Lenovo piece. Hopefully it runs well. So have an update maybe a few months down the line. We'll see how we go.
Okay. Very nice.
Did you end up getting ordering your MacBook then?
Well, no, I haven't ordered it yet. I'm still, obviously it's a couple of months down the line when I can get it. But yeah, I'm still deciding on whether I should go for 2 terabytes or 4 terabytes of SSD. So once I make that choice, then I'll go for it. But yeah, it's just unbelievable, just how little supply there is. It's crazy. But yeah, I keep watching. I'm still watching videos, man, on MacBooks.
You're on the whole rabbit hole of reviews and unboxing right now.
Yeah, and just little details on how they perform versus the M2 and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's very interesting, and I feel like it's what I want to get, but just got to make that final decision. So
Fair enough. Anything interesting you watched other than, I guess, reviews?
yeah, there's bits and pieces. I did watch a Verge kind of review on the Amazon robot.
Mm-hmm.
There's an Amazon robot that's basically an Alexa on wheels with a few extra functions. So it roams around the house and has a camera and
Yep.
can answer questions, play music, and do certain things. But yeah, the takeaway was it's cool but a bit pointless. And I didn't know that existed until I watched that video, and yeah, it kind of makes you think like we're at that stage where these kind of things are possible, and you know they don't cost thousands of dollars. It's kind of interesting to see we're at that point. But I think the use case and the I guess the consumer sentiment isn't quite there yet, but still very interesting nonetheless.
For sure. For me, though, I didn't really watch much else other than just reviews like yourself on Chromebooks. But one thing I do that, when I'm busy and I don't watch stuff is I go back to like favorite adverts, if that makes sense. So I watch a lot of, like I've got a lot of like nice collection that I have like a playlist of nice ads that I would like, either they're cinematic or just overall I feel are good quote unquote short films in some ways because they think about it a lot and they're quite unique in a lot of ways. So I've got a list of either sport based or just different versions of them, and I was going through a lot of those because they're like short and kind of makes you think about I guess the product and also the time when it came out. A little bit nostalgic as well. So you know how you'd have like a tech related advert that you might have seen everywhere in the 2000s, and when you see it now and you go like, oh, this is a
Right.
bit nostalgic.
Right.
So I've got a playlist of those kind of things. So I just sometimes kind of go back to them when I've got short amount of time
Yeah,
but
sure.
don't have a lot to watch kind
Yeah,
of thing.
speaking of that a little bit, so I'm doing a video on Windows phones,
Yeah.
well, not Windows Phone 7, but Windows Phone in particular. And there was this ad that was running a lot. Well, I'd heard about it, people were talking about it at the time. I don't know if you remember that one where it was, I guess, Android users and iPhone users that were at this wedding, and they began fighting over like their different operating systems and taking like jabs at each other. Okay. Right. And then yeah, they all just started fighting with each other,
I don't
and
think I've seen
the
that. I don't think I've
tagline was
seen
like
that.
"Don't fight, switch," and then Windows Phone. Um, yeah, but the thing is, like, it was extremely tacky, like very
Right.
like no offense, but very American. American comedy, how it's like sometimes. But yeah, that brought back memories because I
Yeah.
hadn't seen that. What for like yeah, almost 10 years or something. So. Um, yeah, I get what you're saying. Obviously, the ads that you're watching are better quality, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, but I remember the tagline. I think that the whole Switch thing.
Mhm.
Like I remember the tagline that Windows used a fair bit. So, but yeah, it's something that I do. Or watch TikTok. It's one or the other.
Boo.
Whenever I got a small amount of window. What is your comment of the week if you have any?
Fahimation, and it says, "I'm personally super excited to use DALL-E someday. Can't wait to make the first animated short films made from AI." So, I think that's kind of the direction it's going, and it kind of highlights just people's imagination using DALL-E as a tool. I was that kind of reminds me. I was watching a few videos on DALL-E because it just kind of came up, and it was a video by this graphic designer who was kind of talking about will DALL-E kind of take the industry by storm and kind of make graphic designers out of a job. And he had a very interesting take on it. It was basically no, because the job is a lot more involved than most people think, but certain aspects will be completely steamrolled. So the one he gave was stock footage, so not stock footage, stock imagery. So
Mm,
essentially, getting a stock image for the particular purpose you need right now is it can be expensive or quite painful to go through all the process of it. But just typing exactly what you
yeah.
need and getting it in high quality was something that he said would be yeah, it would be kind of taken over by AI. But yeah, also the other point he made was that some of the other aspects of graphic design involve person-to-person interaction. So actually understanding the brief, figuring out what they mean, and going back and asking questions, and thousands of iterations and any small detail that the client wants, you can put in. So these kind of things aren't immediately under threat. But where I kind of tend to disagree with the overall premise of the video is that this is like, the baby step. This is like a 1 year old, like as in DALI, the AI side of things is like a 1 year old. And, any kind of tweaks that people want to make to the process, or any kind of changes and modifications or improvements that the OpenAI or any other company decides to put in could, all at once just take away another swath of of the industry. So I think it's great for people that aren't artists, and or maybe even people that are artists, in the sense that they can get like prototyping done more quickly. But I think it's just going to be interesting to see how people use this, non-professionals especially, because they kind of come from a different angle.
Yeah.
So so what that comment said just kind of sparked all of that. But very cool to see what people do with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know know the person who commented as well. So it's I think it's fine who did that, but it's and he's an animator himself. So I think that's where the connection is being built. So it's cool to see how it's kind of opening up people, like anybody who's a creative, how it's kind of opening up this new pockets of. I think some people feel threatened, some people feel excited. So I think you're drawing the line that there's that element of that. I think would be cool to see how that plays out. One thing I recently got into was Midjourney. So I don't know if you know that, but essentially it's something similar to DALI. I only got it this week, and it's been a super busy week, so I don't have anything to update. But hopefully, by next episode, when I'm back in the
Yeah, you gotta
studio,
show
I should
us.
have a good thing. So maybe I could actually get prompts from the community. So look, if you're listening in, maybe type in comments of what you'd like to see me put in on the Mid Journey side of things, and then we'll put it up for you to see in the next episode. So quite excited about that myself.
Yeah.
My comment of the week's other than Dino's one is from Ansh Bagania. He says that I think before we plug in the D, iPhone will remove the port, which I thought was very interesting. Would we ever get a portless phone that's has no ports whatsoever?
Possibly, but I personally think that it's going to take a lot of infrastructure outside of the phone industry to get there. So, like for example,
Mm.
at airports, what do you do? When you're in a car, what do you do?
Yeah.
All of this has to be wireless, and that's just going to take a long time. So I think the phone that does that first, it would be seen, instead of stunning and brave as Apple called removing the headphone jack. I think it would be seen as quite a disadvantage on the
Mm.
consumer side. It's just going to be such a massive inconvenience at this point, anyway. What do you think?
I think if we're moving more towards that standardizations by governments and things of that sort, where big tech also kind of starts playing to it, I think we could get to a future where there's no ports and charging is standard and all that kind of stuff. I think that might open up, but that's I don't know probably
Wait,
years and years from
so
now.
so you're saying, well, when you're saying governments are getting involved, yeah, I guess yes with the USB Type C thing, but when you're
Yeah.
talking about wireless charging, are you saying governments will get involved with a standard for wireless charging everywhere, or
Yeah, like imagine if, like as I said, like if somebody's in the airport or in the car, right? Like what if everything around us is being dictated to a point where it's just a plug and play kind of situation, right? It doesn't matter what phone company or what phone you have, there's something within the car itself that's standardized. Like we're moving towards EVs as well. So what if all the EVs have a slot where you just put the thing in, and that's it, right? So I'm
yeah,
thinking like very way ahead of time, maybe 5-10 years from now,
I
but
guess yeah.
nothing in the immediate future.
Because I guess like there's older cars as well that you got to deal with, and
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's just the same argument about older headphones, right? They can't put them in the newer thing. So I think that's the phasing out of things. But I just thought that comment kind of opened up a lot of things in my head. It's like, oh, what if they do remove the port altogether? For everything, how does that future look like?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, but I ultimately think, yeah, like it's a long way away if
Yeah.
that does to happen.
Speaking of ports, though, just one quick note about the Chromebook. You can charge it from both ends, which was new to me. I don't know if already. So usually all the laptops I've used, you can only power it from like one side. This one has two USB-Cs on both sides.
Right.
So that was awesome. Like
Okay.
I've always faced like how sometimes I have to change my entire orientation while using laptop. So that was cool that I thought with that one. But I'm sure this probably exists in other laptops that I'm not aware of. So moving on to the first topic, which is a bit light one, and kind of drawing in from the whole iPhone side of things. So Chris Evans, for those who don't know, is Captain America, probably the more popular role that he's played recently from the Marvel Universe. So he posted an image on Twitter and Instagram where he said he's finally upgrading his phone from an iPhone 6s, which is known to have way more ports than usual phones do today. So there's that. But he posted that phone's image saying, rest in peace, iPhone 6s. We had a good run, and then he said that he'll miss the device's home button. And he also posted to what appears to be an iPhone 13 Pro on the side as well. So the way he kind of addressed the whole thing is that he won't miss the nightly charging battle with the iPhone 6s. So I'm assuming it's been what? It came out in 2015, 2016 now. It's looking at a 7-year-old phone. It's brave of him, like to kind of keep it going for 7 years. I don't know, especially for someone I would imagine as a celebrity who
Yeah.
might need it for calls and meetings and all that kind of stuff.
Like, I guess that
Yeah,
we're talking. I think we did talked about this, but how Apple devices seem to to last a while. But
100%.
but yeah, I think when you're at that stage and that's kind of all you need, then it's all you need. Like if it works, it works.
I wonder what the transition would be like for someone who's been using it for 7 years. I think I don't know, like what's your upgrade rate right now? Like how
It
often do you
used to
upgrade?
be once every year, then it got to once every 2 years, and then this. I've had my Galaxy Note 8 for coming up 4 years now. So
Mm.
I'm kind of getting there as well. It's just it still
Yeah,
works.
4 years is a long time.
Yeah, because I don't know. I actually don't feel the need. Yeah, now that I think about it, it's kind of just. Except I guess the camera. The camera could be a little better, and I found that
Agreed.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
lacking. But it's it.
Yeah, I saw the images from the trip. They weren't looking too flashy.
Yeah, no, that's when you notice it when you travel, which I haven't been doing. So
Fair
until
enough.
recently.
So maybe it's time to upgrade as well.
Yeah,
So who knows?
yeah, interesting.
Staying on the phones topic, this one you're gonna love. There's a new cryptophone that's coming out. When I say cryptophone, so Solana, which is one of the coins, is making a cryptophone with help from former Essential engineers. So Essential used to be a company which was also being renamed and repurposed as well. But the phone previously known as the Osum OV1 was built by a team consisting of these engineers, and the device is for people entrenched in the universe of crypto wallets, Web3, NFTs, and it'll come with a unique feature, which is support for decentralized apps that rely on the Solana blockchain. Thoughts, Dagogo?
I think even in that little description that you read out, it had every single buzzword like we put in Web3 decentralized crypto. Um,
DAO.
yeah, so obviously I wouldn't support or endorse anyone getting this device. Yeah, it looks like it's just a cash grab of some kind. I don't really see the functionality in a Web3 purpose phone. But look, it's people going to do what they do. I yeah, I think I'm mostly negative on this, but Yeah. What about yourself?
Uh, I think we're going to start seeing more and more devices like this, where it's serving very specific purposes or targeting a very niche community, because it's going to be cheap. It's obviously going cheaper to make things today as it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. So you won't have you'll still have the big players, but you'll start having these smaller companies who cater to a very niche audience and niche community where it has one primary functionality. For example, a nothing phone, for example, is probably not as niche as the Solana, but that is targeting a certain demographic, which is smaller and not the mainstream, similar to the Solana crypto phone, which I think will probably start, other coin companies wanting to do similar things, and you could have like future um, specific brands doing something similar. I mean, we kind of saw it with like Red
Yeah.
wanting to do like a camera phone, and gaming companies wanting to do a gaming phone, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
I wonder if the timing of this has anything to do with it. So if, it's kind of like a rat's leaving the ship kind of thing. So crypto's completely down at the moment,
obliterated
to
right
put
now,
it
yeah.
lightly. And maybe these guys are looking to diversify a little bit. But I'm also interested in what these so-called unique features are in terms of uh, Web3 and decentralized apps. How that's different from any other app that you could have on the, I guess, on the web, on the blockchain, but you can access through your phone. I'm interested to know what their unique selling point is specifically for that reason, that aspect, because that's kind of their main selling point. So, um,
Yeah, I think that it's going to feature more frictionless experiences. So right now, if I wanted to get into anything related to blockchain or Web3 or crypto, I would have to go through multiple steps, multiple parties, multiple authentication methods. Maybe this phone, hopefully, is very secure and does all that instantly.
mm,
That's something that I think could offer some value to people who are really into that world. So I do see again some purpose if it's done right, if it's done well. But you're right. I think it's just the timing of it just feels a bit shady right now, or maybe they had planned anyway, and they're just going just sticking with it, and the downturn isn't affecting them, which is kudos to them for sticking to their guns, I guess.
we'll see. What if it's like the Escobar phone or something, where it's all just a
Oh
scam?
yes, this cover phone. Damn, that opened up a bit of unlocked a memory in my head. I remember seeing a few reviews of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what was it again? Like this random company just started
Um,
making these Escobar phones after
Yeah,
Narcos
like
came
it
out.
was it was complicated. I think it had something to do with some member of the Escobar family, but
That's
it
right.
was a scam because I think it was supposed to be a gold-plated iPhone or something, but it
That's
wasn't really.
right.
It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
hard
yeah.
hard to remember, but yeah, it was
Yeah,
not the greatest.
God, it's ages ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I vaguely remember it. No, still on the topic of, I guess, I don't know, uh,
high-end gold-plated.
investments, high-end gold-plated stuff. So Rolex investments have been, and Patek Philippe timepieces have been performing really well. There's been a surge of price as investment pieces over the last few months, specifically. So the Bloomberg did a piece on this saying that unprecedented price surge for the most sought after second-hand luxury watches is showing signs of going up and maybe settling down a little bit after some owners. There's actually a chart which I'll put up on the video, but it's actually quite interesting to see the trajectory of these different investment classes, and how like some of them, like especially cryptos, just haywire. And then you've got cars, like vehicles, which are very steady, which I thought was very interesting because you usually are told that cars are really bad investments and so forth. So that was an interesting thing to see, and of course seeing these timepieces go up in value over the years. So what would you say that that's something that people will also be going more towards now that obviously we had like this whole bubble of NFTs of digital investments. I think there's a lot of doubt in that market right now. It almost feels like people are wanting to go back to the original, like the OG NFTs in some ways, because these aren't particularly of utility in a lot of ways, but they still work well as investments. Like think of sneakers, right? The whole sneaker culture is insane. Just holding on to a few pairs, you could be making like 5, 6, 10 times the original retail price. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this whole
Yeah.
circle and whole bubble?
I think it's just a matter of it's a sign of the times, I guess. Like this could be seen as a safe investment in a way. Like it's not that risky because everyone kind of the Rolex watch trade is it's always seen as something that holds its value. So maybe it's seen as a store of value in the investment sense because we're coming out of all of this risk where people were just throwing money at anything and prices were just going up. So it was that was just the way it was done. But now that the market's kind of changed, I think maybe people are looking at more traditional value assets, and the watch is just they've always kind of been there. Like people collect watches, art, that kind of stuff. So I think it's just a symptom of that, really. I don't find it that surprising, but yeah, it's interesting that it's making such headway in recent months. I think the timing alone should kind of tell you what's going on because a few months back, that's when everything kind of shifted in the financial world, I guess. So having
Mm.
these rise at that same time, I think it's just a difference in investment strategy for these guys anyway.
Yeah, quite interesting, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like on also holding on to like how the comeback of gold, for example, where people like gold's an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's always been two parties consistently saying, "Ah, gold's crap," and someone saying gold's the way to
Mm.
go. And I think recent times it's people are kind of pushing more towards gold as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know like how these class systems are
Yeah,
kind of going
so gold
towards.
is an interesting one because, yeah, for thousands of years it's been seen as real money. That's the only kind of money. And then, yeah, in the early 70s, 1971, it kind of everyone was on the gold standard, so everything was backed by a certain amount of gold. So the US dollar was backed by gold, and then everything was backed by the US dollar, so it was still like pegged to gold. But then after 1971, the US dollar depegged itself from gold, so it was just floating, and they kept printing as much as they want. So the people that are gold
Mm.
bugs or that believe that gold, will come back is essentially just saying that it's still seen as valuable, but compared to US dollars, like the balance has gone way out of whack since the 70s. So if there was anything that was to
Yeah.
happen to say, hey, look, gold's still a valuable commodity, then the price would shoot up because recently there's been steps towards that. So I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago, gold became a reserve asset officially. But I guess all the global
Right.
banking bodies came together and said, yeah, gold is like I can't remember what it was called, like what they named it, but yeah, it's a reserve asset officially now. So it's kind of making the steps towards that. But I don't think we'll see a gold standard. But I think it might play more of a role than it has been. And if you follow the gold bugs, they're quite disappointed because, like with all this inflation, the function of gold is to kind of combat that and to raise in price
Yeah.
to accommodate for it. But it hasn't happened. So there's questions about why that is. You can go down the conspiracy route, saying that J.P. Morgan's, making all these gold contracts that are not real, like
Yeah.
digital gold contracts, and flooding the market. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of think about these things.
No, for sure. Yeah. I guess that's where the story ends. As we move on to the next one, which is about not gold, moving more towards digital stuff. But this is a super interesting one because it's about AI and its capability, not capability more so, but how we frame the idea that if AI is an entity that can have rights, right? So the UK's Intellectual Property Office has decided artificial intelligence systems cannot patent inventions for the time being, is what they're saying. So patents basically assign the ownership of a new invention to its creator. So current law allowed humans to patent inventions made with AI assistance, despite misconceptions. So last year, the Court of Appeal ruled against Stephen Thaler, who said that his Dabus AI system should be recognized as an inventor in two patent applications for a food container and a flashing light. The judges said by a 2-to-1 majority that with the IPO, which told him to list a real person as the inventor, and said that only a person can have rights, a machine cannot. So the idea is that this one person wanted to have his AI listed as an inventor because he felt that the AI had a big role in that intellectual property. But the court says nope, the AI is not a human, and only humans can have rights, and AI can't. So that to me is an interesting place we're at, right? And especially with the whole Lambda conversation we've had over last few weeks. I think as these things become more and more quote unquote sentient, or if at all, it, there will be this whole class of legal repercussions, right? Like, say, if if an AI is doing certain things, what does tell about intellectual property? Like, say, even with the DALI example, anybody can have a prompt to have a text, right? Who holds the intellectual property for what gets spat out? Especially if it's an open source coding that allows anybody to get that information and create that AI to make that stuff. Are we kind of really opening up that whole Pandora's box that about IP and things of that sort? So I don't know. I just thought this brought up a lot of questions in my head as well. How would that play in the future?
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, say like for DALI, for example, there's certain functions where you can say, do this in the style of such and such. So, you know, that particular example, like there's a thing called latent space in AI where you can drag from one point to the other, and then it's increasingly making itself to be more like the style of this artist or whatever. And it's like, at what point is it infringing on, you know, the style of that artist, if you want to, you know, call it that? And it's like, is there a clear point? Can you define that? It's like, not really. So I think the court probably is thinking pretty logically here and saying that, you know, if you have a computer that's helping you do something, then it's essentially just a tool, and like we've never given a tool rights, or like, you know, the computer that does the computer-aided design and designing some kind of new, I don't know, scroll or gadget doesn't have any part to play in that. We just say, we as humans, we had the original idea and we just use this tool to create it. But when AI becomes more advanced, and, you know, who knows what's in the future, like maybe things can get even more murky than they are now. And who knows? So yeah, it's very strange. It's very strange that we're at this point where we have to have a court case to decide if an AI could have copyright. So I don't know.
So when Blake, you know, the guy who claimed, the engineer, Google engineer who claimed that Lambda was sentient, he had a lawyer to represent Lambda as well, didn't he? So how did that work out? I didn't follow it later, but do
Yeah,
you
so
know how that worked out from a
I'm
legal
not too
perspective?
sure about like what the outcome was, but yeah, like all I'm aware of is he pressed for Lambda to be represented, and I don't know if it was completely thrown out by the court, but yeah. So I think we're going to start seeing more and more of this, because this is just the early point when people are like, hey, this thing kind of seems like us, and then, you know, eventually when it starts doing stuff where it's like, wow, that's, you know, I wouldn't have thought, you know, a computer could think like this, then you know, all bets are off. Who knows? You know, you might start having like lawyer AIs that are defending the other AIs.
I was gonna say, like now soon enough the AIs will have their own AI lawyers coming to represent them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a matter of like navigating this, and I guess we can put precedents and things in place to make sure that things don't get too messy. So people can kind of look to what the UK has already done and say, hey, there's precedent for this. Let's continue down this path and then maybe modify a bit. But if everyone kind of throws their hands up in the air and just, is stunned at what's going on and doesn't really work together on this, I think we'll be in a more chaotic situation. So I guess time will tell with this one.
So Meta's chief product officer, Chris Cox, sent an internal memo where he was warning of quote-unquote serious times and preparing for a leaner second half of 2022. So he said that I have to underscore that we're in serious times here and the headwinds are fierce. We need to execute flawlessly in an environment of slow growth where teams should not expect vast influxes of new engineers and budgets. The memo also talks details about Reels and Discovery Engine and AI and all that. And I think over the last few weeks there was also another leak about how Facebook was looking to mimic the TikTok Discovery Engine and implement it on Facebook and Instagram. So it doesn't go in depth about that, but still talks about other things. But that part of the memo was being widely shared online, and I think it's also, as you keep saying, it's a sign of times. It's just that there is a wind of caution. There's a wind of that the next 6 to 12 months won't look very good for the economy. I mean, Netflix just laid off 300 more people, by the way, just this week, which is on top of the 150 they did in May. And that is still with continuous subscription losses, right? So the whole idea of people losing jobs seem to be finally hitting it at full speed, and it just seems like Meta's trying to prepare to go for a lean approach over the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I saw a graph the other day of the layoffs in the past few months, and I think there was like very little 2021, like November, December, then January, February came around, very little, and then like March, April, like as soon as the interest rates started going up, they just piled up, and then now it's insane. But the thing is, most of these companies were the high-flying ones that benefited most from the money printing and the cheap debt and all of this. So it's like right now it's literally just a reversion to before the pandemic, essentially, and then it'll probably definitely will go a bit lower than that. But it's just undoing all of that waste that was there. Like, it sounds harsh, but a lot of these things wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for a lot of money sloshing around out there. And it's gonna be hard for Meta specifically because on the one hand they're battling TikTok and their massive growth, and they're nowhere near in the position. Instagram, people are even kind of, there's a sentiment that people are getting tired of it in a way. I've been seeing that.
Yeah.
So on the one hand they're battling TikTok, and then on the other hand no one likes them. So it's like they're pushing into VR and all of this other stuff, but it just seems to me that there's a lot of fronts that they have to work on at the same time, and it couldn't be easy. So this isn't surprising, and I think it's gonna get a bit harder for them.
Yeah. Just yesterday I was on TikTok, and there was, how there's this whole meme angle of Instagram versus reality. How that thing. So on TikTok there was this thing about Instagram and then versus reality, and the top comment was, "Who still uses Instagram?" Question mark. And it made me think, like, this is such an interesting statement, because the whole idea of that Instagram versus reality, like the whole meme of it, is based around the entire platform, right? Like how something's very aesthetic and visually pleasing and all that kind of stuff. And Instagram just completely moving away from that, and it's just, if you go on Instagram now, it's just reels and videos and stories, right? Which is a full diversion away from the original product. Just in a few days ago as well, I have an artist friend who's really mad on Instagram on his stories, basically having a go at Instagram, saying that, hey, I don't see photos at all anymore on my thing. And he's a photographer, right? And he used to use Instagram primarily for those kind of things. So you're right. I think that sentiment's building up as well, not just for Instagram, but now for Facebook, and I think they're taking all these different approaches. I don't know if it might work, it might keep people on, but just this week I saw that Facebook groups are um, trialing and experimenting a Discord like setup. So of course Discord's popular, so now they're trying to understand that, okay, why is Discord popular? Let's try and pick what might work on the Facebook group
Yeah.
side of things, right?
Then we're going to see a
So
lot of
again, it's
changes on both sides, which could be interesting. Like they could do something that really hits and
yeah,
works. That because it's like they're just deciding where to go. They have this huge kind of like legacy user base where people are kind of around,
yeah.
but it's not really hitting. But if they can find something that works, it could be interesting. Remember that Facebook dating thing that was that was there a while ago? I don't know what happened to that. I think it was a couple of
What
yeah,
was
there's a
that?
couple of years ago, like Facebook in one of their Facebook IOs or whatever their developer conferences, they unveiled. There was a yeah,
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember.
I
Yeah,
don't know what happened to
yeah.
that. But
We're
just
gonna
going
look
back to
up. We're
Instagram
gonna
for a
look up. Yeah.
second, another thing that I'm seeing, like even on massive, I guess company profiles like CNBC or whatever, like those scam crypto comments, they're like taking over, and it's like it looks really bad. It's for a lot of things like some there'll be like this important post on something happening in finance or whatever, and it's like invest with me
And
because
it's
blah blah blah
just,
blah, and it's like that's like 10 of the first
and
comments.
there's so
Yeah,
many of these. Yeah, and there's so many of this everywhere. Like on Twitter, I get constantly tagged on crypto stuff. Just constantly about like NFT, like new NFT releases, and I don't know how they do that. But it's just so annoying to get that. And even on our videos, I was just showing, on our WhatsApp group, on through the web podcast, like there's like somebody who would seem completely normal be like, oh, I just got $4,000 through this, like, Sharon someone, and there's like 27
yeah,
comments underneath,
yeah,
all different profiles, and and what I did was I kind of checked the profiles. They are like from 2015, 2016, so they aren't like new profiles either. So these are either hijacked or dead profiles or people who don't use it anymore, and they just look at so that make it seem real, and that's why they bypass the spam requirement of that. Like if you create a profile straight away and want to comment or do something, you can't. There's like a waiting period of 30 days or something. So that's why I think they're getting more clever as well. They're going back to using these random profiles and commenting on YouTube and elsewhere. So yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. YouTube, Twitter,
yeah,
Instagram. But it is what it is. Just on the note of layoffs and employment situation. So interesting story of this one Burger King employee who's been at his job for 27 years. And he worked as a cook and a cashier at Burger King in the Las Vegas McCarran International Airport, and he went viral this week where he posted a video of what was supposedly a gift bag that was sent to him by Burger King for his 27 years of service, and he basically never missed a single shift either in those 27 years, which is incredible, which is absolutely fantastic. But even though he seemed to be thankful for the gift, that gift bag, which essentially included was a Starbucks tumbler, a candy. So like see what I'm saying. One candy, pens, and a movie ticket. Just one movie ticket, right? And although he seemed to be, again, be thankful in the video, even though some people said he was being sarcastic, but users on social media was like, it doesn't matter if he was being sarcastic or not. The fact is, this shouldn't be the thing a big corporation gives to a loyal employee who's been at it
yeah,
for 27 years. And some comments were like, just couldn't you even get them at least two movie tickets? Like, get them to take someone with them.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
one movie ticket surely is just too cheap, right? And he went viral and everything. And I bring this up because after he went viral, there were lots of GoFundMe donations, and he's racked up a good few $1,000s through people kind of coming together and helping him in this situation, even though he was too humble to kind of be like not really out there for it. But again, it goes to show the power of the internet if people want it, but also how corporations treat employees, especially in these
yeah.
times, right?
It's an incredible 27 years. Like I think it's maybe on Burger King's part, they're just not expecting someone to stay there that long, so they don't know what to do when they do. But the thing is, yeah, it definitely is insulting. Like this is, it's like almost my entire life that long you've been
Yeah.
dedicated to one company, not missing a day. Um, it's something like I'm almost speechless. Like one movie ticket, lolly, and a tumbler. It's like, well, what is that? Like, so I don't know. It kind of does show that maybe, yeah, you're just a cog in a machine. You make those burgers, and that's it. That's really it.
Yeah, and that's one thing that they all say, right? Like, especially with these big corporations, that you know, some people go crazy about dedicating their life to doing that stuff, which you should. Like, I think work ethic is important, but at the same time, if you drop dead during one of those shifts, they'll be upset for a second, and they'll put up a advertisement for replacing you the hour later, right? Um, and I think that's the model that they've been successfully been using over the years, and it's sad, but it works. And yeah, I don't know how else to kind of say it. Like how at least the bare minimum that they could have done is have some sort of a program where they they give that return to the loyalty. So I think these layoffs paired with how you treat your employees for big companies will, I feel, and this is something we spoke about in our first episode about the Great Resignation. um, I think that there could be a revolution in terms of how workers feel about their work, right? It's, I know we were independent creators right now, but yes, I just feel that the value of human time and human work is just being just, yeah, it's just going away very very very
Mm.
easily. Um, but then that begs the question, like, would tech replace some of these things, and do people need to be in jobs at all,
Yeah,
right?
it
So
raises some big questions, but like on top of, people getting fired and not being appreciated, like now, like you're getting less for the work that you do. Your dollar goes a lot less further.
yeah.
So yeah, people are going to be upset, I feel. And what that leads to is, I'm not sure, like whether it would have a new wave of people just trying to start their own businesses that they've been thinking of doing for a while, or people just giving up altogether, and I don't know what. But it's going to be, yeah, I think there's got to be a change. Maybe corporate will get, I don't know if it's going to trickle back to corporate, and they're going to have to change like either their methods of dealing with people or their pay or something. But yeah, something's got to change, I think.
So we are going to end the episode there, but we want to kind of do a few more comments from our previous videos, because I think that even though we don't do a Q&A every episode, just having a back and forth with the community is pretty awesome. So we'll address a few more comments from our previous episode. One of them is from RW Ball, where he is recommending, considering a certified refurbished Apple MacBook Pro 16, inbuilt anywhere after 2018. So apparently it's a 16 gig RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, and works perfectly for video editing and stuff. So that was something for you there to go to consider. Would you, I don't know,
Oh, well,
refurbish
refurbished,
stuff?
yes, but like if it's before M1, if it's still an Intel system, I'm not even considering
Mm.
it. I just feel that the difference is just too vast, and with fan noise, heat dissipation, all that kind of stuff, I don't want to deal with. Especially for recording, it's very important for me to not have fans blurring. Like this Dell laptop right now, it's taking off like it's a jet, so I don't want that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Um, this other comment is about nothing phones, and there's two interesting comments about nothing phones because we spoke about it in the last episode. So one's from Enticing Eats. He says, when it comes to nothing phone, I believe it will be huge, but it'll also take a little time for everyone to change phones in the Android space. Then after a few years, everyone in the Android world is using a design like that, and Apple will adapt after seeing the success. The ultimately people are hungry for something that's a little bit different.
Okay.
So I thought that was an interesting one. But then Xavier Jones says, another great episode. I co-sign that the Nothing phone will fizzle out, especially if aesthetics is the main draw. Tawsif is going to pay up in next June. He's talking about the bet. So we will see, Xavier, about next June. And also Dagogo, because you guys are on the same team now.
No, yeah. Obviously, I agree more with the second opinion because, like, I think honestly, like, if your opinion is that this phone will start a revolution that will trickle into the wider Android space, and then Apple will come along and copy it, I think very little chance of that happening. Mainly because it's from the view of a tech enthusiast. Like, you've seen this phone, you've been hearing all the buzz and everything, but you go out and you ask the average person about Nothing phone, they have no idea. Like, they wouldn't. It's not like the revolution that the original iPhone was, where everyone kind of heard about it, because Apple already had that. That they came with before they had the iPod, and it was everywhere, and then people were waiting for the next big thing from the biggest company, essentially. So I think the Nothing phone is in a small corner of the tech enthusiast market. So the probability of it changing the entire industry, I think, is quite low. But this is my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's just what I think.
Yeah, Deepesh Malhotra also said that the Nothing makers forgot that 75% people or over prefer a back cover on their phone, so the LED on the phone actually won't make a difference. Well, you're right. A lot of people do use it as a cover, but I think they'll also come up with a transparent, clear cover that you can buy from Nothing phone. So that could be a way to counteract. Lots of comments about the USB-D situation, but we're gonna, I guess, wrap it all up with a few comments about the weather. So Bart S says, he's from from the United States, Northern United States. It's not shoveling snow right now, but it was a high of 27 degrees in summer. So a high of 27 degrees.
I think I said, if someone was to watch this later, when it was winter. So I didn't mean right now, but but
of course.
27 degrees. That's pretty. That's for Australia. It's not.
Pierre Armand Lalonde says that it's summer in Canada with 22 to 32 degrees Celsius with no snow either. Okay, yeah, but I think it just seems like they're enjoying summer. But look, I'm gonna actually put a clip of what the winter is right now. It's actually incredible how crazy this week's been. In terms of quote unquote winter.
It's like perfect blue sky, the sun's out. It's like
it's incredible. I was out on a walk yesterday, and I was like, I just took a second to kind of take it all in, and like, what is this? You know what I mean? The sky's so blue, not a single cloud. But yeah, it is what it is. But I guess that's where we end the show. Do leave comments like this. I think we could do a segment of just going back and forth with the community. We love this. Especially ones where they help me get a Chromebook.
Well, to the guy who suggested a refurbished Mac. Thanks for that. It's a good suggestion, but just not for me. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think that just about ties up the show. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon for the next episode. Cheers.